Assalamu alaikum. Welcome all again in this sanctified and sacred and pure, holy space. And if it is sanctified, if it is sacred, if it deserves to be called holy, that's because it is pure. And we are not talking about any kind of purity here, not talking about physical purity, and we're talking about a particular purity, which is purity from judgment, with the definition of being closed, being pure from being closed, or having a mind that is closed, that doesn't want to open, that doesn't want to receive, that doesn't want to appreciate, that is not ready to see alternative definitions of things. And that is our space, and that is also one definition of the space of Al-Quddūs. We said before that the divine names are values, are valors, are horizons, are virtues, are ideals. Divine names are spaces of manifestation of the divine. Spaces, different spaces. Each divine name holds a space for the divine to manifest itself, but most importantly, for us to invite the divine in our life, in that space, through that space. So, Sama al-Quddūs, or Ism al-Quddūs, the space of Al-Quddūs, when it is translated, we usually we usually say the most holy or the most pure. This translation is correct, but it's not good enough, and I would say it is risky. Why? Because if holiness is understood as moral purity or as an ideal of perfection, then we completely miss what this name is actually pointing to. Al-Quddūs does not describe a God who is pure according to our standards. Rather, it describes a God who is pure from our standards. This is very important. Al-Quddūs does not describe a God who is pure according to our standards and expectations. It describes a God who is pure from our standards, pure from our images, pure from our projections, pure from our attempts to define, possess, seize, or capture. That's why we say تقدست أسماؤه وتعالت صفاته. It's always above, 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 above. Actually, the meaning of Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar is taqdees. Is to keep rising above and to keep the divine above, always above. Above what? Above our projections, our attempts to define, possess, or capture. So holiness here is not about being better. It is about being uncapturable, uncageable. The Arabic root qadasa is usually associated with purity, sanctity, transcendence, but this purity is not ethical. This purity is in the essence, it is ontological. Pure is that which is free from mixture, free from alteration, free from dependency on creation, free also from projection. And then there is another layer, a deeper listening. If you go to the root, to the dual root, you know, the Arabic words, we have the three letters, but before the Arabic language has an ancestor, which is also Arabic, when the words had only two letters, and then the third letter came. So the origin of qadasa is dassa, and then the qaf came to add an extra meaning. Dassa, which is a verb that exists in Arabic, it means what? It means to bury, to conceal deeply, not to hide something lightly, but to enfold it so deeply that it becomes inaccessible. The Quran uses this word when it says, for example, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. Successful is the one who manifests his soul. It means like who is clean and who doesn't have anything to hide. And unsuccessful is the one who actually buries his soul, hides it from people. It means the person who is not transparent. Now, the letter qaf comes to add the depth and the weight of the qalb, the heart, the depth. That's what qaf is. Qaf. It comes from here. It is the letter of depth. It is the letter of the heart, the center, the core, the completeness. The value of qaf in Arabic is 100. It's 100. That's the value of qaf in Arabic. So it is the completeness. Now, when we listen to Quds inwardly, we can hear something very different. Not elevation above, but depth. Withdrawal into depth. Protection through concealment. The sacred in this logic is not what is displayed, The sacred is what is removed from display in order to be preserved. And this changes everything in our perception because we have muqaddasat in our perceptions. We say, this person is muqaddas, that place is muqaddas, that is Bayt al-Maqdis, that is Al-Quddūs, that is, there are many things that are sacred, muqaddas, and in our imagination, it means these are things or people that we place on a pedestal. But in the reality, al-muqaddas, the thing or the person that is sacred, is what we remove from appropriation. What we remove from appropriation. What we protect from consumption. What we keep beyond reach. Holiness is not height. Holiness is depth. When we say that God is Al-Quddūs, we are not saying that God fits into our ideas of purity. We are saying that God is free from all our ideas. Not only God is free from all our ideas, but God is the force that frees us from all our ideas. This name has the property to break mental idols, including religious idols, including sacred images that comfort us. Not, there is no form that contains God. No theology exhausts God. No era captures God. And this is not distance. This is actually what makes God alive, eternally present, and universal. Because if God were capturable, God would be repeatable. And what is repeatable eventually becomes fossilized. So Al-Quddūs allows renewal without repetition. Because it is always above your imagination, because it is, the secret is always buried deeper and deeper. It will keep surprising you. Al-Quddūs is then another name of evolution, evolution without corruption. And there is a spiritual teaching for us here. When we understand, when we redefine Al-Quddūs in this way, there is an important shift that happens. Usually, we put the name Al-Quddūs against sins. But now, Al-Quddūs is not against sins. Because the deepest impurity is not sin, it is confusion. Confusion between the real and imagination, between presence, haqq, and projection, between living faith and inherited habit, between the movement of the heart and religious identity. This is the biggest impurity that Al-Quddūs comes to purify us from, or comes to remove. So when we invoke Al-Quddūs, one is not asking to become morally superior. Pak, Pak means Quddus, and there are people here with us who are originally from Pakistan. It means the people who are more pure than other people, and especially they meant that the people are more pure, who are superior to the people who are just next door. That's the meaning of the name, how it came. No, Al-Quddus, it's not a name that when we say Ya Quddus, we are not asking to become morally superior, but we are rather asking for clarity. قدوس قدس بالصفاء روحي. There is this beautiful poem by one of the great scholars, Habib Umar, says, قدوس قدس بالصفاء روحي. Oh Quddus, sanctify with what? Sanctify my soul with Safa. Safa means clarity. So one is asking for clarity, for liberation from images. The real invocation of this name is, deliver me from the images I mistake for you. That's what it means, Ya Quddus. Deliver me from the images and projections I mistake for you. But this name requires maturity. Because Al-Quddus does not reassure. It does not confirm beliefs. It does not validate belonging. It burns out. It is fire. It deconditions. As long as someone needs a God who reassures them, a God who confirms their identity, a God who protects their certainties, they are not yet ready for Al-Quddus. This name dissolves the imagined God so that one may encounter the living one, the real, Al-Hayy Al-Haq. And here we meet the notion of As-Sirr, translated as the secret. The Sirr doesn't mean a hidden information in the Sufi language. It means a core of presence, or the core of presence. It is hidden not because it is weak, but because it is too real to be exposed and too alive to be captured. The moment it is staged, it is lost. The moment it is displayed, it is betrayed. It's not it. The sir rests in what the tradition calls al-batin. Not a psychological interiority, but the interior of all interiority. Not what I observe within myself, but that from which I observe. This is where the logic of the veil, al-hijab, becomes clear. That's why they say al-hijab is not an obstacle, it is rahmah, it is a mercy. It is not only that the human being is veiled from God, God is veiled from a human immaturity. Without the veil, the ego would appropriate, the mind would freeze, religion would fossilize. Without the veil, al-hijab, the ego would appropriate, the mind would freeze, religion would fossilize. With maturity, the veil does not necessarily disappear, it becomes transparent. Another meaning of Al-Quddūs, transparency. But the sir remains protected. And this is exactly what Al-Quddūs signifies. It is the force that buries the sir within al-batin under a protective veil, hijab a'zam, so that the real is never profaned. In the human being, this name works as a force of protection, a force that knows what must not be exposed, what must not be shared, what must not be turned into spectacle. In a world obsessed with visibility, Al-Quddūs teaches right withdrawal, sobriety, clarity. To be touched by the blessings or the energy of Al-Quddūs, it is not to become holy in the eyes of others, it is to become clear. Opaque to the world, transparent to the real. Holiness is not what it is shown. Holiness is what withdraws so that it may remain alive. Ya Quddus. So, to give now that classic translation that we gave for every name, Al-Quddus operates as a force of inner uncluttering, a force of inner uncluttering, a force of clarity of perception, a force of protection of the heart, a force of lucid transcendence, a force of protective withdrawal. Maryam is called Maryam al-Muqaddasa because she went in that protective withdrawal. Maryam is the archetype or the image of the soul. When the soul is actually pregnant, when the soul is not just empty, when the soul captures the sir, the Isa, the sir, the Ayn sir, it needs to go into that protective withdrawal. We are not talking here about physical withdrawal necessarily. It may take that form, moments of khalwa, and actually Al-Quddus originally was used to be a place of khalwa for Anbiya, where they go to يتقدسون. So now if you want to put unity to this, Al-Quddus is the unity of purity. The unity of purity is very powerful. We understand that purity is universal and there is unity of purity that unifies the pure ones. Ideologically speaking, this is dangerous because everyone claims to be more pure than others, and the pure ones come together and then let's go and have the pure Astan together. No. But there is a unity of purity, universal unity of purity, and that's God. And that unity gives us a force. From that unity, we draw a force of clarity and inner uncluttering. And protective withdrawal. يا قدوس يا قدوس يا قدوس يا قدوس يا قدوس. Some Sufis say don't repeat it a lot unless you are ready for it because it is one of the names of fire. It is a name of Salat. If you want to use it with Ya Quddūs, Ya Salam in pair. Salam is water. It will cool it down. It's like Salam. It's like As-Salatu was-Salamu alayka ya Rasulullah. So Salat is actually the Quddūs. As-Salam is, we will see the name As-Salam next week. So next week we will have more time to chant together Ya Quddūs, Ya Salam. But if you need Ya Quddūs, don't repeat it more than 33 times. They say that. I don't know why. But don't repeat it a lot. Somehow I get it because it may yeah, destroying is not easy. We need to take things, we need to take it easy when we are uncluttering and destroying and and liberating and this is a name of liberation. This is name of, you know, maybe that's why it is heavy. We see what's happening in Al-Quddūs. It is heavy. Energetically, it carries a very, very powerful and heavy. Ya Quddūs, Ya Salam. Thank you very much. And it's good to put your hand on your qalb and just one time with deep intention, seeking that clarity and that inner uncluttering and say, Ya Quddūs. Inshallah, see you next week with Ya Salam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.